calling stray dogs a big problem for Delhi.
इसमें माननीय कोर्ट ने जो आदेश दिया है वो भी हमारे लिए बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। हमारा एक ही ध्येय है, दिल्ली की जनता को राहत देना। ये प्रॉब्लम जिस विकराल रूप धारण करके दिल्ली के सामने खड़ी है, इसमें सरकार की ईमानदारी के साथ में समाधान देना ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है।
While the exact order is yet to be published, it was contended in court that stray dogs are already being picked up, something confirmed by local municipal councillors to India Today. The Chief Justice of India, B.R. Gawai, has now assured to review a plea challenging the Supreme Court's contentious directive to relocate all stray dogs to shelters in 8 weeks. Amidst the crackdown, voices of dissent grew louder. Fresh protests by dog lovers and activists were seen in Film City, Noida, where some of the country's biggest news channels are located.
No 2 pounds! No 2 pounds! No 2 pounds! No 2 pounds! No 2 pounds!
What you're seeing behind me are a section of people who are dog lovers, who are protesting against the Supreme Court order, which have asked to remove the stray dogs from the streets. They're also partly angry with a section within the media about a coverage that they say has actually led to the protest in the first place. They want the ABC program, which is the animal birth control program, to be implemented nicely, because that's the only scientific manner in which you can reduce the number of dogs on the streets. This is not the right way to actually have strays removed inhumanly, and that's the reason they are protesting.
While the increasing dog menace is a real problem, especially within the Delhi-NCR region, recording the highest dog bites in the country, the current top court diktat seems unimplementable, with what is estimated to be a 10 lakh dog population compared to just 20 recognized dog sterilization centers. In fact, India Today found out that some dog shelters in Delhi are not even functioning properly.
A shelter should have a kitchen, so there's a small kitchen where the food is being prepared. This is the dog's kitchen. The situation seems to be deplorable because the entire center needs a little bit organization. There is no cleaning as such.
While there is an infrastructural abyss, and Delhi will have to spend more on dog shelters than it does on public health to just implement the Supreme Court order, questions need to be asked of the overtly underwhelming performance of the MCD to control the dog menace in Delhi. In 21-22, the MCD spent 5.9 crores on stray dogs, of which 5 crores went towards sterilization and just 70 lakh towards building sterilization centers. A Delhi Assembly panel estimated the stray dog population at 8 lakhs in 2019, up from 5.6 lakhs in the last census of 2009. Comparable trends are visible in other metros. Bengaluru spends nearly 9.4 crore tackling the stray problem, while Mumbai BMC spent 11.2 crores the same year, which is financial year 2022. The low spending by the MCD comes even as dog bite cases surge. In Delhi, reported cases jumped nearly 4-folds. In January 2025 alone, the city logged 3,196 dog bite cases. If the MCD even spent 6 crores on stray dogs as it listed for financial year spending the year 2021-22, then there had to be some documentary evidence on ground. What is to the contrary. Meanwhile, caught in this tug of war between humane care and hardline cleanup, Delhi faces a crucial question. Can the city find a compassionate way to keep its streets safe without losing its soul? Bureau Report, India Today.
All right, Vio. So this is a battle which is brewing now, not just in the national capital and the NCR region, but across the country. We've had dog lovers, activists, celebrities, regular people who have come out and questioned this particular order coming from the Supreme Court. For them, the good news is that the Chief Justice of India has taken cognizance and will look into the matter. I want to take all these questions to our panelists this evening. Joining me in just a short while will be Vijay Goel. He's a BJP leader. He's actually the biggest proponent of the Supreme Court order. He's taken out a yatra all across Delhi, which practically lauds the Supreme Court order, suggests that it should actually be implemented across the country. Larger questions, of course, on infrastructure. Do we really have the kind of infrastructure to support an order such as that? Still remain unanswered. We're going to take those questions from him. Gauri Mulekhi, animal welfare strategist, is with me. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, chairman, Nephron Clinics. Dr. Ashar Jesudos, executive member, Delhi Animal Welfare Board. Rahul Ishwar, philosophy author and Hindu activists. I'd like to, before all of that, I want to cut across to Gauri Mulekhi, animal welfare strategist. Gauri, all right, we don't have Gauri with us. We're going to cut across to her in just a short while from now. But Dr. Ashar, if you'd want to come in. Well, the Chief Justice of India has said that he's going to look into the matter, which clearly has the society divided. Lots of questions, Dr. Ashar. We spoke with you, yesterday as well, to take the conversation further. Ultimately, there is a crisis that Delhi is facing if you're going to look at sheer number of dog bites, where the dog menace is concerned. The MCD has clearly, somewhere down the line, performed terribly. It could be corruption, it could be multiple reasons, but the sheer fact it hasn't done its job lands us in a position that we are in. But, Dr. Ashar, the larger question is, why should people suffer collateral in midst of dog right activists and what the Supreme Court said?
Right. So I think we should begin by understanding, I think, that everyone on this panel wants a solution, right? And so do we. And it's just a question of how you get these solutions, what's the science behind it, what are the laws behind it, and what is the morality behind everything that you do. And I believe that Indians are a compassionate people at the core, right? And I think that belief is something I will hold dear to me all my life. And based on that, we need to understand that there are a set of rules in place which have been upheld by the Supreme Court of India previously. They're all the animal birth control rules 2020. We all had. It's just that no one's taken the time to open the rules and read what's written inside, right? Coming back to your next question, who's to be accountable to this? The Municipal Corporation of Delhi should be held single-handedly responsible because they run 20 animal birth control centers. As you could see, one of your reporters was at a center and they saw what miserable conditions the dogs are kept in over there. They claim to have sterilized 7 lakh dogs in the last 7 years, whereas my estimate is that there aren't 7 lakh dogs in all of Delhi. And if there are, then all of them should be sterilized, according to the MCD data, which means that they've taken all this money that you said that was spent in sterilization and not in setting up centers, and we don't know what they've used for. The animal birth control rules mandates CCTV cameras in every operation theater. It mandates a monitoring committee to be established at the local level and at the state level. In most places across India where these people are demanding a solution, these monitoring committees haven't been formed, and numbers are highly inflated. They're taking the money. They're not sterilizing the dogs. In fact, they're not following the ABC rules at all. The ABC rules also say that they need to run education drives whenever they pick up dogs, to tell people what the rules are. Like the Kuda vehicle that comes to our locality, it says Gila Kuda yahan, Sukha Kuda yahan. That's educating people about what waste segregation is all about. The municipal corporation doesn't do that. It doesn't tell people how to solve the problem. It doesn't solve the problem. They just take all the money and they don't do any work. And that is where the problem lies. And that the government, the BJP is, we're really hopeful in this government, even now, that they will understand the source of the problem and deal with it where they should. So hold the municipal corporation responsible and not take out all the angst on, a vulnerable section of our society, which is the dogs.
All right, Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, you've been very, very vocal, especially where, the rising cases of dog bites are concerned. And at least if you look at prima facie, the figures, Delhi has the highest numbers of dog bites across the country. So clearly we failed somewhere. But then when you look at this particular order, which is coming from the Supreme Court, is that the solution? Because we clearly also lack the infrastructure to support where each and every dog, as per the last census, which was in 2018, it seems we are standing at a population of 10 lakh dogs, and we only have functioning 20 sterilization centers. So there is a huge abyss where infrastructure is concerned.
Good evening. The first and most important thing is to make a distinction between pet dogs and stray dogs. The stray dogs are a risk to life. They are endangering life, endangering children's health and the elderlies. At no point of time, my view is that we should have any cruelty or any inhuman behavior towards any animal. But we can't convert our city, our residential colonies, our homes right outside our gates into a Masai Mara or a Serengeti. That is unacceptable. Stray dogs bites, and we know the statistics. There are more than 37 lakh bites in India every year of dog bites. And mind you, most of these cases go to private clinics, general practitioners, where the cases are not being documented, recorded, and the census is therefore underreported. Point number two, obviously the civic authorities haven't done their job in the last 10 years. There should have been an infrastructure capacity building. That's not happened. That needs to happen. But if you have stray dogs on the streets, you're going to have bites. We know the rabies cases, and everyone is saying the rabies cases are just 54 this year of it. The word just is wrong. Every human life counts. The issue here is it's not only about rabies, it's about the lacerating injuries, nerve injuries, orthopedic injuries, severe reconstructive surgeries which are required for small children and elderlies, fracture neck femurs, head injuries which elderlies face. Dogs in the streets, for a variety of reasons, attack human beings. You can't have a stray dog which is aggressive in the same micro-environment as residential homes. That's the distinction point. We need to be more compassionate.
Fair point. We need to be more compassionate, but how do we do that in letter? Because technically with what you're suggesting right now, that this is a death sentence for the stray dogs, at least in the Delhi-NCR region. We understand that because we don't have the infrastructure. We tried doing this without a Supreme Court order, which was, during the Commonwealth Games, and we saw what really happened. So are we okay accepting that we are signing off on a death warrant for lakhs of dogs at the cost of what needs to be done, for the citizens of the country, of Delhi, who are facing what they are facing thanks to the laxity of the MCD?
Just a quick point I want to add. In fact, just two quick points with your permission. Yes, the time constraint of 2 months may be too short, but let us start the process. The only way to move forward is to take a first step forward. There is absolute possibility of creating these shelters and looking after the dogs, sterilizing them and vaccinating them, and over a period of years, the stray dog population will go down. The second point is, I want people to appreciate the pain, the torture, the harrowing experience of small children undergoing reconstructive surgeries or indeed working in a rabies ward. There is nothing which is more disastrous, painful, and emotionally and psychologically challenging than to look after these patients. I want people to understand the pain the families go through. It's not only a human being life lost, a family gets destroyed.
No, fair point. But we're once again, and I'd bring in, I'd bring in our other guest, Gauri Mulekhi as well. But we're once again then, Dr. Bagai, for the sake of an argument, because entrusting the same agency that has failed till now, abysmally so, to carry out a program which is mandated by the top court. And we are hoping that they'll succeed this time, which looks implausible. I want to bring in Gauri Mulekhi, because Ms. Mulekhi, there's a larger question here. You know, we can sit here ad nauseum, debate about animal rights, animal welfare, that this is a death warrant, but ultimately try explaining that to somebody in a Narela, in an Angloi, who's taking their little child to the school in the morning, gets attacked every morning by a pack of dogs, or somebody on their morning walk, or a delivery agent who faces this trauma day after day.
Correct. We have to change the way we are perceiving the problem at this time. We have approached this problem as if it were a civic problem to be dealt with by municipalities for the past 25 years. 2.5 decades we've given to local authorities like MCD, other municipalities and panchayats across the country. They have failed miserably for lack of consistency, for lack of compliance with the central government rules. Sometimes it's the budget which is short, sometimes it's the monitoring which is not there. Sometimes there is so much corruption that while the program goes on paper, nothing happens on the ground. That's something that a combination of all three we saw in Delhi happening for the past 2.5 decades. But we need to look at it as a public health problem and a veterinary health problem, not even animal welfare. So let us look at it only from the scientific point of view. Now, if we, for instance, if we have a magic wand and we remove all dogs, all 10 lakh dogs, given it was possible even from Delhi, would that then mean that Delhi is sanitized and there's not a single dog going to come in from anywhere else into Delhi? No. In the next 3 months, we would have more unsterilized dogs from neighboring areas coming into Delhi, fighting for territory, and we'd be back to square one in less than a year. Because this is something, this is not a simplistic way of resolving things. World Health Organization has spelled out how cities such as Delhi with urban solid waste problem can resolve the scavenging animal issue, and that is through the Animal Birth Control Program. The National Center for Disease Control, NCDC, which is our own Government of India's body, has concurred with that, has come up with a national action plan on rabies eradication along the same lines. In fact, this very year, the Director General of Health Services has indicated that the data of dog bites that's coming out is faulty. It is not correct because it's not collected at source in a segregated manner, whether the dog bite is of a pet dog or a stray dog. A lot of people who are rearing and keeping pit bulls and Alsatians and Rottweilers and you name it, all kinds of fancy breeds, which are also regulated by the Government of India, but not implemented by the states under the dog breeding and marketing rules of 2017. So these dogs also contribute to a very large number of bites, which the medical authorities now have the mandate to record in a particular format given by the DGHS. That format will start giving us the correct data probably from next year onwards. Because this year, up to this year, all the data that we've got is a cumulative of all the post-exposure rabies vaccines that have been disbursed to people. And sometimes every single vaccine that is given is recorded as a single dog bite. So for one dog bite, the 5 doses required, 5 repetitive dog bites are recorded. And that has been something that the states pointed out, which the center acknowledged. And now corrective measures have been taken.
Okay.
So we need to have the data right to get the solution right.
All right. Okay. Rahul Ishwar, the fact is there is a problem. Nobody's denying it. Especially where Delhi is concerned, the numbers say it very clearly. But is this the solution? Because clearly after, speaking to multiple people who've been working in this sector, this is definitely not the solution. We've got to work towards something which doesn't cost our infrastructure the way this will, number one. Number two, where it's implausible because an MCD that has failed till now, you're entrusting the same body to carry out, something which they're going to fail at. It's impossible in 2 months to create shelters, which Delhi will end up spending more on dogs than it does spend on health for public.
Ma'am, everyone understands that there is a problem. In 2023, it was reported somewhere around 3 million dog bite cases and nearly 286 deaths from dog bite, as reported by our mainstream media. In 2024, more than 5 lakh victims of these dog bites were children under the age of 15. So yes, there is a very serious problem. See, I don't hate dogs, neither am I a dog lover. My humble submission is that we should give priority and precedence to human life, and that is non-negotiable. Yes, I understand and respect the outrage from our movie industry, people like John Abraham, people like, across civil society, many dog lovers. We respect that sentiments because, we in Indian culture has always respected various animals as part of godly nature too. But having said that, the human life cannot be compromised. So it's up to, to bring out a solution. The animal lovers, the caregivers, the food givers, they need to come together, find out a solution in accordance with, especially today's Honorable Supreme Court Chief Justice has taken a position that he will look into it again. Perhaps he will reconsider it. So they need to find a solution. But having said that, the ordinary people out on the road is getting very impatient. Let us not close our eyes towards that kind of an impatience that's happening. For example, my home state, Kerala, 2 children were killed by the dog bites. When we meet their family, it's a scar that even stays in our mind for an entire lifetime. So it's a very serious issue that a solution needs to be done. And let me have no shyness in saying the precedence and the preference go to a human life rather than a dog's life. With no disrespect to any animal's life. That human life is sacrosanct. We need to take care of that. And in the order of things and in the scheme of things, we have more priority. And some kind of a fast solution should be taken care. Otherwise, people are already getting impatient. There were many killings regarding dogs by ordinary people reported across India. So please bring out a solution. Please help us get rid of this menace. And that's a very serious.
So one needs to work toward the solution. I don't think anybody is denying that, but this is definitely not the solution. Are we willing to sacrifice lakhs of dogs because the inability of one agency to do their job? That's the basic question. I want to quickly move on to I think we're getting some news break coming in, and we'll go back to our panelists on the same. Well, you have now Menaka Gandhi, who's appealed to the Chief Justice of India, urging the CJI Gawai to hear all sides, suggesting hope CJI makes a call in view of law. Appeal after CJI said will look into the matter. All of this coming in at the wake of Menaka Gandhi, animal rights activist. She's a former BJP MP. She lost her election though, so we're going to correct that. But the latest coming in is that after the Chief Justice of India has come in to say that he will look into the matter, you have Menaka Gandhi now appealing to CJI Gawai to hear all sides, that she hopes that the Chief Justice of India makes a call in view of law. Listen in.
ये तो बहुत ही हम लोग होपफुल हैं क्योंकि ये वाला ऑर्डर तो इतना खराब और इसमें पिछले 2 दिन से इतना बवाल मचा है। औरतों को मारा गया, पुलिस वाले निकल रहे हैं, वायलेंस तमाशा हो रहा है, डेमोन्स्ट्रेशंस हो रहे हैं। क्या फ़ायदा? क्योंकि वो ऑर्डर इतना रबिश था कि वो सब लोग जानते कि हो नहीं सकता। तो अब अगर चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया ने इसको फिर से देखना है तो हमारी उनसे हार्दिक इच्छा है कि वो सब तरफों को सुन करके जो सेटल लॉ है उसको देख करके तब वो ठीक करें।
All right, I want to cut across to Dr. Rasher. Dr. Rasher, because we're looking at solutions, the only solution is sterilization. So we are looking at a long window. There is no quick fix solution to what we are actually facing right now, which many would think is an epidemic kind of proportion where dog bites are concerned. Once again, going purely by the figures that exist.
Right. Sterilization is absolutely the solution, but I think Ms. Gauri Molekhi wanted to say something, so maybe we let her speak first and I can come in after that.
All right, Gauri Molekhi wanted to come in? Go ahead.
I'll answer that very question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Basically, the rules that the central government has promulgated in 2023 also provide for short-term respite, but only if it is followed. Rule 16 of the Animal Birth Control Rules 2023 says that if there is any dog that has bitten any person, if such a person has actually been bitten, not just because somebody is scared of such and such dog, looking at it or barking at it, but if there is a biting dog, it can be picked up, isolated, identified, picked up, kept in the Animal Birth Control Center in an isolation quarantine ward, and then monitored for presence of rabies or not. And there's a whole process given in it. However, the 20 shabby little ABC centers that MCD runs in Delhi rarely have isolation centers. They need to be brought under the regime of project recognition throughout the city. They've still not done it. We are in High Court against MCD in contempt for not following the central government rules. For the longest time, the previous government refused to follow any rule made by the centre. Now we are hoping that sense will prevail and the new government will follow the central government rules and make the ABC centres more robust. For short-term respite for feeders also, Rule 20 prescribes that feeding points, where there's conflict, one person doesn't want dogs to be fed here or there is a committee that can be made under the chairmanship of the district animal husbandry officer, who will have a police wala and the RWA person and the feeder, and they will make a consensus feeding point in the neighborhood, which is acceptable to all. But for that, some amount of effort has to be put in. How is it that UP and Uttarakhand have put in a lot of effort? Because they started early. They are giving results now. Delhi started 25 years ago, spent hundreds of crores, and still it's only basically filled up pockets of MCD officers, and the Delhi population is still at large with all their problems.
Okay.
I just want to make one short point more, Preeti. While we are all very worried about public health risks because of presence of street dogs, let me put it on record that public health will be massively compromised if we make ghettos or concentration of camps of dogs around the city. These will be such biological, focal points of all pathogenic activity. For kilometers around these places, people will not be able to live. These will be just such complete biohazards that Delhi does not need it. That's how the Black Death actually started.
Okay, well, Dr. Bagai, we've spoken about this a couple of days ago. Dogs essential to the scavenging cycle where, Delhi is concerned. But final comments, Dr. Bagai. I'm going to cut across to all of you. Dr. Bagai, please go first.
So a failure of a system as far as the civic bodies are concerned for the last 25 years is not defining what we need to do further. We need more number of dog shelters. We need better care of the dogs, but we also need to investigate where has all this money gone over the past many decades. But to have, again, my basic point is, if you have stray dogs outside your homes, at some point of time, many people are going to get bitten. My limited point is, for me, that is unacceptable.
All right, let's quickly cut across. Dr. Rashar, final comments, sir.
Yes, I just wanted to add a little bit, following the entire biohazard, the human health hazard that this decision is going to create. You must have heard of the term herd immunity, right? I mean, we all heard about it during COVID, and there was a reason why mass vaccination was carried out, because when about 30% of the population is vaccinated, it greatly increases the protection from that virus from spreading, right? Similarly, right now with the animal birth control program in place, a majority of the dogs, I mean, all the dogs that have been picked up and sterilized and put back are vaccinated. So we need to understand that rabies does not originate from the dogs. The dogs themselves are victims of rabies. They've been bitten by either a rat or a wild animal, maybe another dog that's come from outside. And these animals will keep coming in. These dogs are vaccinated and therefore they kind of protect us. The unvaccinated ones are the ones that fall victim to rabies and go on and to bite humans. That's a very important point to understand, because if we start picking up all these sterilized dogs and vaccinated dogs and putting them in shelters, the new dogs that Gauriji talked about that are going to come in are going to be unvaccinated, unsterilized, and the chances of rabies propagating is going to be more. These dogs are also going to have fights amongst themselves. They're going to set up a pecking order. And when they fight amongst themselves, humans are going to get bitten. It's common sense. People need to think long term. This is like some random order where you just decided, okay, let's build this ashiana. It's not an ashiana. It's going to be an absolute ghetto, like Gauriji said. And it's shameful that the Supreme Court of India has come up with an order like this.
All right, final comments. We have Rahul Ishwar. Final comments, sir. Then we're going to go into a quick break.
I would humbly urge, we should all be very mindful and respectful when we deal with a Supreme Court verdict or a Supreme Court order. They are the highest court of our land, and we should be very sensible to respect their verdict. We may agree or we may disagree with those particular verdicts. Supreme Court has taken a drastic step because of the gravity of the issue on ground. and human beings' priority cannot be compromised, and that is a sense that we should all have, because tomorrow if something bad happens, people can really take, and that has really happened too, because at the end of the day, a human life is more important than dog's life, and there are no two ways about it.
You know, I'm going to just leave it at that. We're going to let our viewers decide. The debate continues both in court and outside. A quick break. Stay with us. On the other side, we're going to shift focus to Uttar Pradesh.
Moto G96 5G. All eyes on you.
मंगलदीप, दिल से करो बात भगवान के साथ।
मंगलदीप धूप कोन्स 2 गुनी खुशबू के साथ दे पूजा का बेहतर अनुभव।
जब मुंबई से वापस कोल्हापुर शिफ्ट हुआ तो सबने कहा कि ड्रीम सिटी को छोड़ रहा है। ड्रीम सिटी, तो मैंने कहा ड्रीम में तो यही गलियां आती हैं। तो जब ये रियलाइज हुआ कि कुछ बड़ा करने के लिए बड़े शहर में रहने की जरूरत नहीं है, तब लगा कि लाइफ में ग्रो किया। कशित आई ऐसे बॉय मिलते मुंबई में, चांस ही नहीं।
SIP करो, इन्वेस्ट करो, लाइफ में ग्रो करो। प्रतिभूति बाजार में निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है। निवेश करने से पहले सभी संबंधित दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।
Moto G96 5G. All eyes on you.
All right, joining me right now is BJP leader Vijay Goyal, who has lauded the order coming in from the Supreme Court where dogs are concerned that they need to be put in shelters, the stray dogs, in the next 8 weeks. Of course, that has been contested with both inside and outside court. Vijay Goyal ji joins us. Vijay Goyal ji, you know, this is something that has not just Delhi divided, but the country divided. आपको लगता है, you think that this order should be implemented not just in Delhi but all across India. Why do you think this is the best solution? क्योंकि जो dog lovers हैं, जो animal activists हैं, वो तो कह रहे हैं that this is nothing but a death warrant for at least 9 to 10 lakh dogs in Delhi-NCR region.
देखिए, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जो स्ट्रे डॉग्स को शेल्टर होम्स में भेजने का फैसला किया है, मैं उसका स्वागत करता हूं। एक बात आप समझ लीजिए, ये डॉग लवर्स या एनिमल लवर्स गिनती के हैं सिर्फ। हमारे साथ सारी दिल्ली की RWAs हैं। सारी का मतलब है 500 या 1000 से ज्यादा होंगी RWAs। एक भी RWA आप ऐसे लाके दिखा देंगे जो ये कहेगी कि ये फैसला ये गलत है और कुत्तों को सड़कों पे रहना चाहिए, तो मैं समझ लूंगा कि एनिमल लवर की बात सही है। एक भी RWA कह रहा हूं। दूसरी बात यह है, देश भर में 12 करोड़ कुत्ते हैं। मैं चाहता हूं सुप्रीम कोर्ट के आने की जरूरत नहीं होनी चाहिए, बाकी की स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स को भी इसको इंप्लीमेंट करना चाहिए। एनिमल लवर्स 2 इशू उठा रहे हैं आज की डेट में। पहला इशू इनका यह है, अगर आप मेनका गांधी जी से लेकर सबको आप सुन लेंगे तो पहला इशू इनका यह है, इट इज नॉट पॉसिबल, हमारे पास इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर नहीं है, हमारे पास शेल्टर होम्स नहीं है, हम कुत्तों को कैसे भेजेंगे वहां पर, और वो कहते हैं कि किसी चीज की कोई सुविधा नहीं है जी। पर जब मैं उनसे कहूंगा, मान लीजिए हमारे पास शेल्टर होम हो, मान लीजिए हमारे पास इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हो और मान लीजिए हमारे पास सारी फैसिलिटीज हो, तब क्या आप डॉग्स को शेल्टर होम्स में जाने का समर्थन करेंगे जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा है? तब वो हाथ पीछे खींच लेंगे। तो इसका मतलब है वो दो मुंह से बात कर रहे हैं। दूसरा इशू वो ये उठाते हैं कि भाई मैं उनसे अगर पूछूंगा या आपसे भी मैं पूछूंगा कि दूसरा सोल्यूशन क्या है आपके पास, क्योंकि आपको तो मालूम है 1960 से पहले तो कुत्तों को गुड स्लीप दी जाती थी। मैं पूछूंगा आपसे, आपके पास क्या सोल्यूशन है, या जो एनिमल लवर्स है उनके पास क्या सोल्यूशन है? वो सिर्फ एक सोल्यूशन बताएंगे, वैक्सीनेशन एंड स्टरलाइजेशन। तो भाई वैक्सीनेशन स्टरलाइजेशन भी आप कर लीजिए, और आपने करके भी देख लिया है, वो सक्सेसफुल नहीं हुआ।
पर विजय गोयल जी,
आपने कर लिया
विजय गोयल जी, इसमें दो पक्ष हैं। विजय गोयल जी,
लास्ट लाइन
बोलिए सर, बोलिए।
हाँ, लास्ट लाइन है, 12 करोड़ कुत्ते देश भर के अंदर हैं और दिल्ली में 8 लाख से अधिक स्ट्रे डॉग्स हैं जी। वो तो यही रहेंगे ना, वो तो स्टरलाइजेशन करके कहीं जाएंगे नहीं, वो इसी तरह से काटते रहेंगे। दिल्ली में 2000 केसेस पर डे डॉग बाइट्स के केसेस हैं। बच्चे, बुजुर्ग, महिला उनके ज्यादा शिकार हैं। लोगों ने सैर करना बंद कर दिया पार्कों में, पेरेंट्स ने अपने बच्चों को बाहर भेजना बंद कर दिया है। तो आप इनसे ये पूछ के बता दीजिए इनके पास क्या सॉल्यूशन है कि लोगों को कुत्ते काटे नहीं।
विजय गोयल जी,
पहले हमारे सामने मानव हित है या कुत्ता हित है?
बट विजय गोयल जी, जो आप कह रहे हैं कि आपने स्टेरिलाइज करके देख लिया, वो हुआ नहीं। विजय गोयल जी, आप एमसीडी से काफी वाकिफ हैं जो दिल्ली में है। अब आपको मैं एक फिगर है जो एमसीडी से ही आया है, उत्तर प्रदेश, उत्तराखंड, यहाँ पे सब स्टेरिलाइजेशन सक्सेसफुल हुआ है, कुत्तों की संख्या कम हो गई है। एक दिल्ली ऐसा शहर है जहां पर कुत्तों की संख्या डबल होती जा रही है। जो पहले 2009 में कुत्तों का सेंसस हुआ था, फिर 2018 में हुआ, डबल ही होती हुई जा रही है। तो जो एमसीडी है, एमसीडी का अटर फेलियर है कि आप स्टेरिलाइज नहीं कर पाए, क्योंकि बाकी शहर, बाकी स्टेट्स कर पा रहे हैं। एमसीडी को कोई दिक्कत है, एमसीडी नहीं कर पा रही है, पहली बात। दूसरी बात विजय गोयल जी, एमसीडी का बजट, मैं आपको नहीं, आप भी सुन लीजिए सर, क्योंकि देखिए आप एक पक्ष रख रहे हैं। ऐसा नहीं है कि मैं कुत्तों के पक्ष में हूं, पर क्योंकि आपका एक पक्ष है, मैं आपको जो एनिमल राइट्स एक्टिविस्ट हैं जो कहते हैं वो बता रही हूं। जो दूसरी बात विजय गोयल जी, एमसीडी का बजट 500 करोड़ है इसमें, जो कुत्तों के ऊपर है। उन्होंने सिर्फ 70 लाख स्पेंड किए हैं। जो पिछला फाइनेंशियल ईयर का डेटा जो पब्लिक हुआ है, सिर्फ 70 लाख जो स्पेंड किए हैं शेल्टर बनाने में। अब उन्होंने बाकी सब कह रहे हैं स्टेरिलाइजेशन में स्पेंड कर दिया है। जो आंकड़े हैं और जो स्टेरिलाइजेशन हुई हैं वो मैच नहीं कर रहे हैं। तो कहीं पर या किसी ने पैसे खाए हैं या बनाए हैं। ये सारा एमसीडी की गलती है। और अब हम कह रहे हैं कि मानव हित या कुत्ता हित, इसमें मैन मेड क्रिएशन है। ये प्रॉब्लम एमसीडी की क्रिएटेड है दिल्ली में, ये हम क्यों नहीं मान रहे हैं?
मैं जवाब दूं?
प्लीज सर।
हेलो, आवाज चली गई
सर, प्लीज सर।
देखिए, पहले आपके फैक्ट्स ठीक नहीं है जी। सुनिए, सबसे ज्यादा डॉग्स की जो प्रॉब्लम है, स्ट्रे डॉग्स की, वो यूपी के अंदर नोएडा और गाजियाबाद के अंदर है। अगर मैं आज आवाज मारूं तो पूरा गाजियाबाद उठ के दिल्ली के अंदर आ जाएगा कि गोयल साहब हम आपके साथ हैं। पूरा नोएडा उठ के आ जाएगा, क्योंकि मैंने दोनों जगह के ऊपर इन स्ट्रे डॉग्स के लिए मुझे इनवाइट किया गया था और दोनों जगह पर मैंने मीटिंग ली थी। मैंने उनको कहा था विजय गोयल माहौल बनाता है, एक्शन नहीं कर सकता, वो माहौल बनाता है ताकि सुप्रीम कोर्ट, गवर्नमेंट्स इसके अंदर जागे। दूसरी बात यह है, एमसीडी नहीं करती स्टरलाइजेशन। मैं आपको बताऊं जी, एमसीडी ने 20 एनजीओ
टेंडर देती
जो
है,
ये एनिमल लवर्स चलाते हैं, इनके ऊपर छोड़ रखा है। सुनिए मैडम, टेंडर तो एनजीओ उठा रहे हैं ना, एनजीओ उठा रहे हैं। सुनिए बात को,
जिनको आप देना चाहें, जिनको एमसीडी देना चाहे उन्हीं को टेंडर देती है।
टेंडर निकालती है
जी 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 जी, बोलिए सर।
नहीं, ये सिर्फ सोसाइटीज को देते हैं और इसके अंदर ज्यादातर एनिमल लवर्स ही सामने आते हैं। जैसे मेनका गांधी जी की भी एक संजय गांधी जी के नाम से वो है, उनसे पूछ लीजिए आपने कितने केस के स्टरलाइजेशन के केस किए हैं, तो आपको पता चलेगा ठीक नहीं किए। एमसीडी इतने सालों से उसमें खूब करप्शन रही है। पर मैं आपको दूसरा सवाल उठा रहा हूं जी, कोविड के कारण भी इस काम में बहुत कमी आ गई थी, इसलिए कुत्ते बहुत बढ़ गए थे। मुझे सिर्फ इनसे ये पूछ दीजिए, 8 लाख कुत्ते, चलो बाकी तो आपने सारे स्टरलाइज कर लिए, ये जो 8 लाख कुत्ते रोज सड़कों पे घूम रहे हैं, ये काटते रहेंगे तो ये बच्चों को काटते रहे, आप इसके हक में हैं क्या? अगर वो कहेंगे हक में हैं तो मुझे कुछ नहीं कहना है, फिर तो वो कहते हैं कि नहीं कुत्ता ज्यादा प्यारा है। क्या है, लोगों ने बड़ी बड़ी नस्ल के कुत्ते अपने घर में पाल रखे हैं, उनको लगता है हाय हमारा डॉग है ये स्ट्रे डॉग। अगर ये वास्तव में एनिमल लवर हैं, पहली बात ये सारे वेजिटेरियन हैं क्या? जरा इनसे पूछ के देख लेना। दूसरा, इनमें से कितनों ने कुत्ते गोद लिए हैं? जैसे नीदरलैंड में कुत्ते गोद लिए हैं, इनमें से इन्होंने कितने गोद लिए? कोई कुत्ता गोद नहीं लिया है। ये सिर्फ एक काम करते हैं, एक तो इनको फॉरेन फंडिंग मिलती है, एक दूसरे एनजीओ से फंडिंग मिलती है, गाड़ियां आती हैं, कुत्तों को खाना डाल के चली जाती है, और अब तो ये कुत्तों को मीट खिलाते हैं, तो कुत्ते तो अपने आप ही हिंसक हो जाएंगे। कर्नाटक के अंदर सरकार ने कहा कि हम इनको मीट के साथ बिरयानी खिलाएंगे। अब ऐसी अगर प्रथा है तो आप कुत्ते पाल लीजिए, इनकी संख्या जो है हम 1 पैदा करते हैं, वो 4 पैदा करते हैं, इनकी संख्या हमारी संख्या से ज्यादा होने वाली है, फिर हमें शेल्टर होम्स में जाना पड़ेगा, जो कि हम ऑलरेडी शेल्टर होम में आ गए हैं, क्योंकि हम अपने बच्चों को खेलने के लिए बाहर निकलने में डरते हैं। मेरी एक बात ध्यान रखना, आप RWS के अंदर, आप इतना बड़ा चैनल है, RWS के अंदर सिर्फ एक सर्वे कर लीजिए, RWS लोगों को रिप्रेजेंट करती है,
कोई नहीं,
तो आपको पता चल जाएगा कितने एनिमल लवर सामने आएंगे।
गोयल साहब, ये कोई कॉन्टेस्ट कर ही नहीं रहा है कि दिल्ली में एक मेनेस है कुत्तों का, उनको आपको कंट्रोल करना पड़ेगा, ये कोई कॉन्टेस्ट नहीं कर रहा है। पर हम यहां पर क्यों आए और सोल्यूशन क्या है? जो आपने फिगर्स दिए, मैं आपको साफ फिगर देती हूं। उत्तर प्रदेश ने पिछले साल 2.8 लाख स्ट्रे डॉग्स को स्टेरिलाइज किया है। अगर मैं आपको दिल्ली का इसमें फिगर दूं, वो 1 लाख भी नहीं बनता है, 1 लाख से भी कम है दिल्ली NCR रीजन, बहुत ज्यादा गैप है। चलिए आप एक्सपेंस भी मान लीजिए, उत्तर प्रदेश एक बहुत, ये जहां पर ये हुआ है उत्तर प्रदेश में, मैं 5 शहरों की बात कर रही हूं, 5 शहरों की, उनमें से लखनऊ एक शहर है नंबर 1। तो कहीं पर हम ये क्यों नहीं मान रहे कि MCD का बहुत बड़ा फेलियर रहा है? अगर आप सिर्फ 70 लाख अपना बजट में से निकाल के स्पेंड कर रहे हो आप स्टेरिलाइजेशन के लिए, आप सेंटर्स के लिए, तो एक बहुत बड़ी दिक्कत है। क्योंकि मैं आपको सिर्फ फिगर्स दे रही हूं, बैंगलोर, बॉम्बे इससे कम से कम 30 गुना स्पेंड करता है फॉर एनिमल शेल्टर, जो हम नहीं करते, वो हमारा बजट है। हम ये क्यों नहीं मानते कि ये एक बहुत बड़ी समस्या है?
नहीं, मैं ही कह रहा हूं कि ये बहुत बड़ी समस्या है। दूसरा, आपका एक फैक्ट और गलत है, MCD का बजट कोई 500 करोड़ नहीं है, तो MCD के पास तो पैसा ही नहीं है, और उनके पास 500 करोड़ क्या, मुश्किल से 10-15 करोड़ का बजट होगा, जहां तक मेरी जानकारी है।
5 करोड़ बोला मैंने सर, 5 करोड़
वगैरह के स्टेरिलाइजेशन।
विजय गोयल जी, 5 करोड़ कुत्तों के स्टेरिलाइजेशन के लिए 70 लाख आपने, सिर्फ 70 लाख आपने स्पेंड किया इनका शेल्टर बनाने के लिए, सिर्फ 70 लाख जी। और वही 11 करोड़ तो BMC 11 करोड़ स्पेंड करती है इस चीज के लिए।
मैं आपको एक बात बताता हूं, मैं MCD को बिल्कुल भी डिफेंड नहीं कर रहा हूं जी, और मैं MCD को खुला क्रिटिक हूं कि MCD के अंदर करप्शन है। पर मैं आपको एक और बात बता रहा हूं, MCD ने अब ये सारा काम आउटसोर्स कर रखा है, तो डेफिनेटली कुछ चीजें होनी चाहिए। मैं आपको बताता हूं कि इसका सॉल्यूशन क्या है, जो एनिमल लवर सॉल्यूशन नहीं बनाते। पहला सॉल्यूशन इसका ये है कि सेंसिस होना चाहिए। अभी 10-12 साल से तो सेंसिस ही नहीं हुआ है कुत्तों का। जब तक आपको ये नहीं पता चलेगा कि प्रॉब्लम कितनी बड़ी है, जो मैं 8 लाख कुत्ते कह रहा हूं,
वो 2018 का सेंसस है, 2018 का सेंसस है जो आप कह रहे हो।
जी जी,
उसके हिसाब से 8 लाख कुत्ते हैं, तो कम से कम 10 लाख तो होंगे। MCD का ही फिगर है सर, अब वो सेंसस के तौर पे हुआ या क्या?
समझ लीजिए बात को
जी।
पहले सेंसस तो खैर नहीं हुआ, तो पहला तो यह है कि सेंसस करवाना चाहिए जी। दूसरा, जियो चिप जो है उसको लगाना चाहिए। तीसरी बात है, अब ये जो लोग कहते हैं शेल्टर होम कैसे बनेंगे, अरे वैसे ही बनेंगे जैसे कोविड की आफत आई थी और हमने डिसीजन किया कि हम रातों रात अस्पताल खड़े करेंगे, कैंप लगाएंगे, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को डेवलप करेंगे, वैक्सीन को डेवलप करेंगे। ये जब सब हमने डेवलप किया तो हम गवर्नमेंट के ऊपर छोड़े ना। अभी तो उन्होंने सिर्फ 2 महीने दिए हैं, 2 महीने के अंदर इन एनिमल लवर्स को चाहिए पहले रिजल्ट तो देख लो। अगर रिजल्ट ठीक नहीं आएंगे तो और आगे बढ़ेंगे। आप तो एक दिन भी रिजल्ट देखने के लिए तैयार
इसका आर्ग्यूमेंट ये है, देखिए आप उसी बॉडी को ट्रस्ट कर रहे हैं जिसने अभी तक आपको फेल किया है। वही एमसीडी जिसको आप ट्रस्ट कर रहे हैं, जिसके पास अभी सिर्फ 20 स्टेरिलाइजेशन सेंटर हैं, उसी बॉडी को आप ट्रस्ट कर रहे हो कि वो ओवरनाइट इतने सेंटर बना दे कि वो 9 से 10 लाख कुत्तों को हाउस कर ले। तो ये साफ, विजय गोयल जी, क्या, चलिए मैं आपसे एक ये साफ सवाल पूछती हूँ, आर यू ओके, क्योंकि आप मानव हित और कुत्ता हित की बात करते हैं, आर यू ओके दैट यू साइन इन knowingly that this is a death warrant for 9 or 10 lakh dogs?
नहीं, डेथ वारंट तो वर्ड यूज करना बड़ा ही गलत है। शेल्टर होम में भी उनकी देखभाल होगी और ये सारी एनिमल जो लवर हैं, ये शेल्टर होम में उनको जाके फीडिंग भी कराएंगे। मुझे पूरा
शेल्टर होम ही नहीं है। अगर आज एज पर दिस ऑर्डर, विवेक गोयल जी, और आप विजय गोयल जी आप मुझे करेक्ट कर लीजिए, एज पर दिस ऑर्डर, अगर ये ऑर्डर इंप्लीमेंट हमें करना है इन ट्रू स्पिरिट ऑफ द लेटर जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बोला है, तो दिल्ली सरकार का एक्सपेंडिचर कुत्तों पे ज्यादा होगा, पब्लिक हेल्थ पे कम होगा। अगर सही में करना है तो क्या हम तैयार हैं?
मैं एक बात कह रहा, ना तैयार होने का तो सवाल ही पैदा नहीं होता ना। और दूसरी बात, सुप्रीम कोर्ट कहीं गई नहीं है। हम, दिल्ली गवर्नमेंट या एमसीडी दोबारा उनको अप्रोच करेगी और कहेगी सर 2 महीने में हमने इतना काम करके दिखाया है जो पॉसिबल था, आप हमको थोड़ा सा टाइम ड्यूरेशन और दे दीजिए। तो मैं तो पूरा आश्वस्त हूं कि एक शेल्टर होम भी इन्होंने बना दिया और ठीक गया तो ये प्रोसेस धीरे धीरे चला जाएगा। और दूसरा, खाली दिल्ली गवर्नमेंट नहीं, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट भी इसके अंदर इन्वॉल्व होगी। और दिल्ली तो वैसे भी नेशनल कैपिटल टेरिटरी है, तो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट भी इन्वॉल्व होगी, तब हम सब मिलकर काम करेंगे। पर सुप्रीम कोर्ट डिसीजन दे और बिना देखे आप उसका पहले दिन से विरोध करने लग जाएं, उस बात का विरोध जो कि आरडब्ल्यूए चाहती हैं, सारी आरडब्ल्यूए चाहती है कि इन कुत्तों को यहां से निकालो, शेल्टर होम में भेजो, ज्यादा अच्छी देखभाल करो, पर रोज हमारे बच्चों को काटे, ये हम नहीं सहन कर सकते। दूसरा, ये एनिमल लवर्स कब से चिंता करने लग गए इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की? मैंने तो आज तक इनको किसी इशू पे नहीं और देखा कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है या नहीं है। आप मेरी बात को ध्यान से सुनना, ये 20 एनजीओज इन्हीं एनिमल लवर्स की हैं। उनसे पूछिए आपने इतने सालों में क्या काम किया है जो आज आप इसका क्रेडिट लेने के लिए आ गए हैं कि वी आर द डॉग लवर्स, वी आर द डॉग लवर्स।
विजय गोयल जी, चलिए, दिस इज नॉट अबाउट दिस 20 एनजीओज। ये टेंडर निकालती है एमसीडी, आपको भी पता है टेंडर कैसे दिए जाते हैं। सो लेट्स नॉट इवन गेट इनटू दैट डिबेट, दैट इज एन एंटायरली सेपरेट डिबेट व्हिच वी कैन हैव ऑन द एमसीडी एंड द लैक ऑफ फंक्शनिंग ऑफ द एमसीडी व्हाट इट्स सपोज्ड टू डू। वो तो बात ही नहीं है सर। बात एक तय है कि अभी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चरली जो आप कह रहे हैं, एटलीस्ट प्राइमा फेसा इट्स इम्पॉसिबल। आप उसी एजेंसी को ट्रस्ट कर रहे हैं जिस एजेंसी ने बार बार आपको फेल किया। ये पहले भी हो चुका है कि हमने कुत्ते उठा कर
मेरा लास्ट क्वेश्चन
नहीं, मेरा आपसे एक लास्ट क्वेश्चन है। एक स्कैवेंजिंग चेन है जो दिल्ली में भी है। हम फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड कंट्री बनना चाहते हैं कि हमें कुत्ते नहीं चाहिए स्ट्रीट्स पे, मैं भी चाहती हूँ, सभी चाहते हैं, पर एक स्कैवेंजिंग चेन है। अगर आप कुत्तों को हटा देंगे, रोडेंट्स, जो चूहे, बिल्लियों की संख्या, मंकीज की संख्या बहुत अधिक हो जाएगी। इन कुत्तों को आप अगर जैसे अगर 10 लाख से 9 लाख कुत्ते हैं, ये मैं नहीं बोल रही, एक्सपर्ट्स कह रहे हैं कि अगर आप इनको हाउस करने लग जाएंगे, दे विल बिकम अ बायो हैजर्ड, ये हेल्थ हैजर्ड बन जाएगा।
पर नीदरलैंड के अंदर
सर, हम
तो लोगों ने
थोड़ी
कुत्तों को अडॉप्ट कर लिया, वहां तो कोई
सर नीदरलैंड
नहीं, सुनिए ना मेरी बात
हाँ
को, एग्जांपल्स तो दिए जाते हैं ना।
बोलिए सर।
जब नहीं फिर तो किसी भी आर्गुमेंट में किया जाता है। मैं एक और बात कहता हूं आपसे, ये एनिमल लवर्स क्या चाहते हैं, क्या करें हम लोग, बताइए, चलिए क्या करें?
सर, स्टेरिलाइजेशन का,
मान लो इन्होंने कहा स्टेरिलाइजेशन करो, हम स्टेरिलाइजेशन कर दें।
जी बोलिए सर,
एक मिनट, बोलिए। हम इनका स्टेरिलाइजेशन करते हैं,
एनिमल बर्थ कंट्रोल
तो ये जो 10 लाख कुत्ते हैं ये कहां जाएंगे? ये तो काटते रहेंगे। मैडम, मैं भी वही बात कर रहा हूं, पर ये फिर कुत्ते जाएंगे कहां जो आप 10 लाख सड़कों पे काट रहे हैं? इनको क्या करेंगे हम, वो बता दीजिए बस।
विजय गोयल जी, बात वो नहीं है, नोबडी इज डिनाइंग, कोई भी डिनाई नहीं कर रहा। मैं साफ बोल रही हूं दैट इट इज बहुत बड़ी इशू है, बहुत बड़ी समस्या।
यही सोल्यूशन है।
तो सोल्यूशन है कि हम मान लें दैट यू आर साइनिंग,
कोई सोल्यूशन नहीं, आप
फिर हम मान लें knowingly we are signing the death warrant of 9 to 10 lakh dogs because we could not perform our job, the MCD could not perform its job. सही बात सर?
मैडम, जो लोग अपराध करके, आप देखिए, सुनिए, गाय, मुर्गी, मछली, बकरा, सुअर, ये सब कट रहे हैं। तो मैंने नहीं देखा कोई एनिमल लवर इनके लिए सामने आ रहा हो जाके, आज तक एक भी आवाज नहीं सुनी है। केवल कुत्तों के लिए, क्योंकि इन्होंने एक एक कुत्ता घर में पाल रखा है, तो इनको लगता है कि नहीं हमारा कुत्ता है तो बाहर भी कुत्ते हैं। अभी तक ये नहीं बता पा रहे कि क्या बच्चों को वो ऐसे ही काटते रहे, इसका कोई सोल्यूशन नहीं दे रहे मुझे।
तो सर आप बेसिकली बोल रहे हो कि क्योंकि
शेर आपके ऊपर
गाय
हमला
सुअर
करेगा,
कटते हैं
भेड़िया
तो
आपके ऊपर
कुत्ते भी
हमला
कट
करेगा।
जाए।
नहीं मैडम, मेरे मुंह में मत डालो,
आपने
ऐसा मत
बोला है
करो
सर,
डिबेट
मैं नहीं
कि आप मेरे मुंह, मैं ये कह रहा हूं तब ये नहीं बोलते हैं।
अच्छा,
मैंने ये नहीं बोला, कुत्ते भी कट जाए।
मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल देती हूँ, आप मुझे करेक्ट कर लो। आप, मैं आपको एग्जांपल देती हूँ। G20 सर हुआ, G20 में दिल्ली सरकार का ऑर्डर था कि मतलब एक ऑर्डर आया कि सारे कुत्ते हट जाने चाहिए। दिल्ली सरकार से नहीं, सरकार से ऑर्डर आया कुत्ते हटा दो। उनको कुत्तों को पकड़ पकड़ के शेल्टर्स में लेके गए। इतनी सारी रिपोर्ट्स आई कि ये इम्पॉसिबल है। और तब ऐसा भी नहीं था कि आपको सारे के सारे 10 लाख कुत्ते हटाने थे, आपको एक एरिया से हटाने थे जहां पे G20 हो रहा था। तो वो एक एग्जाम्पल है जो अभी वो फेल रहा। तो क्या ये सोल्यूशन नहीं हो सकता है ना सर? बात ये है
जी मैडम, तो मेरा आप जवाब नहीं दे रहे, तो कुत्ते ऐसे ही काटते रहें फिर, अगर ये सोल्यूशन नहीं हो सकता तो इसका मतलब ये है फिर हमें शेल्टर में रहना पड़ेगा जी, जो कि लोगों ने अब रहना शुरू कर दिया है। अपने बच्चों को बाहर नहीं निकलने देते। आप कभी चलिए आप मेरे पार्कों में मेरे साथ, आपको पता चलेगा कि हर आदमी के हाथ में एक लाठी आ गई है और जो बच्चे हैं वो खेलने जाते नहीं है पार्कों के अंदर, माँ बाप ही नहीं भेजते उनको।
I understand that for a lot this is an elitist problem, क्योंकि you can sit in TV studios, you can sit in gated colonies and make these statements of animal rights and how animals and dogs need to be protected. Ultimately, in colonies where a child is taken to school, an elderly who's going for a morning walk or a delivery boy, they are facing these problems, sir. No one is denying that. But my basic question is this the answer? Because आप मुझे करेक्ट कर लो सर, जैसा अल्टीमेटली यही निकल के आया है कि चलो इफ वी हैव टू सैक्रिफाइस 10 लाख जॉब्स फॉर द एमसीडी नॉट डूइंग इट्स जॉब, तो ठीक है, वी शुड डू इट। करेक्ट और नॉट सर?
तो सुनिए, देन यू सैक्रिफाइस द ह्यूमंस, क्योंकि आप जानते हैं एक साल में 35 लाख कुत्ते बाइट करते हैं जी, और रेबिस जैसी बीमारी उनको होती है। तो इसका मतलब यह हो गया कि दिल्ली के अंदर 2000 जो स्ट्रे डॉग्स बाइट्स कर रहे हैं वो करते रहें, रेबिस होती है तो होते रहे, पर कुत्तों को सड़कों पे खाना खिलाते रहो, गंदगी करवाते रहो। उनकी जान हमारी जान से, ह्यूमन लाइफ से ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट आप देख रहे हैं उसको। मैं ऐसा नहीं देख रहा जैसा आप देख रहे हैं।
नहीं सर, मैं देख नहीं रही। देखिए, दिस इज जर्नलिस्टिक इंक्विजिशन, क्योंकि कोई एनिमल राइट्स एक्टिविस्ट नहीं है। मैं आपसे सारे सवाल कर रही हूँ, बात वो नहीं है। बट इट इज अ टफ कॉल, एंड आर वी दैट रूथलेस दैट वी आर डिसाइडिंग दैट we are okay that 9 to 10 lakh dogs are sacrificed at the altar of citizen health is what we are suggesting it to be. It's a question that people have to answer, and I agree आपने जो अपने तर्क रखे that it is a problem in Delhi, because Delhi records the highest number of dog bites across the country. I thank you sir for joining us. Thank you for putting your point of view forward. Appreciate it. We're going to leave it for our viewers to decide on where they stand on it. Understandably, it is a deeply contentious issue. A quick break. Stay with us.
Moto G96 5G. All eyes on you.
मंगलदीप, दिल से करो बात भगवान के साथ।
मंगलदीप धूप कोन्स 2 गुनी खुशबू के साथ दे पूजा का बेहतर अनुभव।
Moto G96 5G. All eyes on you.
जब मुंबई से वापस कोल्हापुर शिफ्ट हुआ तो सबने कहा कि ड्रीम सिटी को छोड़ रहा है। ड्रीम सिटी, तो मैंने कहा ड्रीम में तो यही गलियां आती हैं। तो जब ये रियलाइज़ हुआ कि कुछ बड़ा करने के लिए बड़े शहर में रहने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, तब लगा कि लाइफ में ग्रो किया। कशी ताई, ऐसे बॉय मिलते मुंबई में? चांस ही नहीं।
SIP करो, इन्वेस्ट करो, लाइफ में ग्रो करो। प्रतिभूति बाजार में निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है। निवेश करने से पहले सभी संबंधित दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।
All eyes on you.
How has he seen a doll?
Gotta have some spin, never blending, dripping in, like it's so clean.
Moto G96 5G.
All eyes on you. Hello, Moto.
Co-presented by Century Ply Club Prime. Raho befikar. Co-presented by Hint. बड़े आराम से। Co-powered by My Trident. My love for home.
Good evening. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif, called boot polish in his own country, is now threatening India over the Indus Waters Treaty being held in abeyance. Now, remember, first it was failed Marshal Asim Munir, then Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, and now Shahbaz Sharif. There's a clear pattern to these threats that are emerging from Pakistan. But after the Pahalgam terror attack, can India take Pakistan's threats lightly? Because is Pakistan now emboldened from all the attention it's getting from the United States of America? So the US president, who calls himself the president of peace, is he actually supporting a peace-loving nation or a state sponsor of radical Islamist terror?
Pakistan pushes war over water. Munir, Bilawal, now Shehbaz.
अगर तुम हमारा पानी बंद करने की धमकी देते हो तो ये बात ज़हन में रखना कि पाकिस्तान की एक बूंद भी तुम पाकिस्तान से छीन नहीं सकते।
The US ignores Pakistan's terror role.
The United States and Pakistan discussed ways to enhance cooperation to counter terrorist threats.
A patch Pakistan threatens water wars. That's the big focus on India first.
You know that old adage that barking dogs seldom bite? Clearly doesn't hold true for Pakistan, and India knows this, especially after the Pahalgam terror attacks post General Asim Munir's rants against India. So can India afford to ignore these repeated Pakistani threats? And has US President Donald Trump sacrificed the India-US strategic partnership at the altar of whether it's a cryptocurrency deal with Pakistan or to regain a toehold in the region to keep an eye on Iran? Or is there another game at play here? We debate that. Coming up at 8:30 on India First, India is in this global chakravyuh of changing equations. So Ambassador Kaval Sibal, former Foreign Secretary and former Ambassador to Russia, Turkey, France and Egypt, one of India's best-known diplomatic minds, he decodes these fast-changing global equations and India in midst of it. I'm Gaurav Sawant. As always, let's get started with the headlines on India First. BJP counters Rahul Gandhi's vote chori claim, says Sonia Gandhi's name appeared first on the voters list in 1980, 3 years before she officially even became an Indian citizen. Rahul Gandhi claims threat to life over his remarks on Veer Savarkar, says a complainant is a direct descendant of Nathuram Godse, alleges his opponents are triggered by the vote chori claim. Mega India Today Independence Day scoop: Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Red Fort speech to be a tribute to India's braves. Operation Sindoor, bravery to be the major theme. Modi may back restoring statehood in Jammu and Kashmir. Council in Supreme Court raises top court's order on stray dogs before the Chief Justice of India. Court says the matter will be looked into. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi to visit India on the 18th of August to hold crucial bilaterals with National Security Advisor Ajit Doval on crucial border issues. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif has claimed that the enemy, these are the words he's used, the enemy will not be allowed to snatch even a drop of water. And if this were to happen, there would be a lesson that the enemy will never forget. General Asim Munir, of failed Marshal Asim Munir, was earlier quoted saying Pakistan would launch multiple missiles in case India were to build a dam on the Indus. Pakistan's former Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari too had echoed words to this effect. Remember, but even a terrorist in Pakistan, a UN-designated global terrorist, Hafiz Mohammed Saeed, had threatened to nuke India in case Indus waters were dammed or stopped from Pakistan, or words to the effect ki pani nahi to khoon bahega. Usually, India would have dismissed these statements like the rants of a failing, if not a failed state. But after the Pahalgam terror attacks, India clearly has to adopt a more cautious approach. We get you more in this report.
तुम्हें वो सबक सिखाएंगे कि तुम कानों को हाथ लगाओगे.
3 days, 3 threats. After former foreign minister and army chief, now Pakistan's prime minister threatens India on Indus water.
हमारा पानी बंद करने की धमकी देते हो तो ये बात ज़हन में रखना कि पाकिस्तान की एक बूंद भी तुम पाकिस्तान से छीन नहीं सकते. उस खुदाए बुजुर्गों बरतर की कसम है कि अगर तुमने ये हरकत की तो दोबारा तुम्हें वो सबक सिखाएंगे कि तुम कानों को हाथ लगाओगे.
Pakistan is clearly frustrated after India kept the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance following the Pahalgam terror attack.
भारत का मत एकदम स्पष्ट है. टेरर और टॉक एक साथ नहीं हो सकते. टेरर और ट्रेड एक साथ नहीं चल सकते. और पानी और खून भी एक साथ नहीं बह सकता.
Desperate for water and desperate for global backing, Pakistan is leaning on Washington. So far, President Donald Trump seems ready to oblige. From Asim Munir's nuclear threat against India on American soil to joint counter-terror talks that skipped any mention of Pakistan's terror export, of late, the US has turned a blind eye to transgressions by Islamabad. The US has also designated the Balochistan Liberation Army as a terrorist organization.
The United States and Pakistan reaffirmed their shared commitment to combating terrorism in all its forms and manifestations during this latest round of the talks in Islamabad. The United States and Pakistan discussed ways to enhance cooperation to counter terrorist threats, and I think that for the region and for the world, the United States working with both those nations is good news and will promote a future that's beneficial.
The real game is strategic. Hosting Munir, signing oil deals, hinting at Kashmir talks, all to pull Pakistan away from China and push American arms in, according to some analysts.
This is all political game. It has to be taken with a pinch of salt, what American president says about, because American president requires Pakistan. Pakistan is strategically important. And at the moment, Pakistan has got Chinese influence in it, which America does not want.
Using this strategy to, I think, influence India
to agree more on the Russian oil issue, to agree more on the trade issue. My assessment is that America is playing a big game in this region now, and they've decided that Pakistan will be their pawn, of course, or their hired, facility.
India isn't fooled. New Delhi has time and again reminded Washington you can't fight terror while backing its fountainhead. And as Pakistan threatens water wars, India's silent response speaks louder. No water till terror ends. Bureau Report, India Today.
Karl Marx had famously said, history repeats itself, first as a tragedy and then a farce. And Pakistan cozying up to the United States, clearly both a tragedy and a farce. But Pakistan cozying up to the United States has actually emboldened Pakistan to repeatedly threaten India. Thrice in as many days. How should India view these threats? How should India respond? Joining me on India First is Lieutenant General Raj Shukla, former army commander and one of India's foremost voices on strategy. Ambassador Yash Sinha, former High Commissioner to the UK, knows the Indus Waters Treaty very well. And when Pakistan sued India, Ambassador Sinha will tell us how Pakistan was caught on the wrong foot. Abhijit Iyer Mitra is a senior fellow at the Institute of Peace and Conflict Studies. Alexander Slater is a geopolitical expert on national security, joins us in a moment. General Shukla, how would you view these repeated threats from Pakistan? Now, is this meant, when it comes to people like Shahbaz Sharif or Bilawal Bhutto Zardari for domestic consumption, where it comes from Asim Munir, either for the Pakistani diaspora in the US, or is it desperately seeking US intervention on Indus Waters and on Kashmir?
So, Gaurav, good evening to you, to my fellow panelists, and to your viewers. These threats from Munir and Bilawal and Shehbaz Sharif are really not material, though I'll come to them. But before that, I want to make a couple of comments on the broader Indo-US relationship and in that context, Pakistan. So this morning, Marco Rubio gave an interview where he said that, Donald Trump is the president of peace. All credit must go to Trump, and he rattled out the conflicts that he seems to have solved: Cambodia, Thailand, Israel, Iran, Rwanda, Congo, so on and so forth. Now, I was wondering, what is the aim of US foreign policy? Is it to give Mr. Trump the Nobel Prize? Or are there larger objectives to secure American interests in the world? If there were larger objectives, they would see India's great value in taking care of whatever threats or challenges China poses to US. Or is, Trumpian ego becoming synonymous with US foreign policy? Because Mr. Marco Rubio is a man of some wisdom, so I thought. But the entire advisors around Trump, the whole MAGA camp, all they're going to do is get Trump a Nobel Prize. Are these the larger objectives of American foreign policy? So the worry is that the same voices are going silent. That is my real worry. Now, what is India saying? India is saying, please be a man of peace, but we are also a 5,000-year-old civilization, damn it. We've dealt with larger questions of war and peace. And, we cannot line up for photo shoots at your bidding. We simply cannot do that. Please understand India. We are autonomous in mind and deed. We make our own strategic choices, where to get oil from, when to engage with Iran. That is India. Now, this is what is rattling the West, Trump and his advisors. And I think that is the central issue. Now, what must we do? Well, despite all this, I say we must still stay invested in all the constituencies in America, along the Beltway, the think tanks, Congress, lobbyists. We must also grit our teeth and bear it. Anything that works. I'm saying a combination of pragmatism and principle. But principle is also important. India simply cannot be what the other countries do. That is something wiser American people must understand.
Very sane words. Absolutely. Trumps will come and Trumps will go.
Is it simply not bad mathematics? Is it not simply bad mathematics to prioritize whatever 23, 24 crore lumpen Pakistanis, and not because of the Pakistani people, but because what the Pakistani military has done to them, over 144 crore vibrant Indians. That is what America must see. So these are my few remarks, and the other aspects of what Shehbaz said, the others said, we'll come to later.
Okay. No, you make very sane points, and to any sane person, this is logical. Ambassador Sinha, what do you make, of all these words that come from the Pakistani leadership? Are they emboldened because they're getting all this attention from Trump, and is Trump miffed because all he wants is a Nobel Prize? Let me get a Nobel Prize. I've got peace everywhere. I'm the president of peace. And perhaps he's very angry because when Prime Minister Narendra Modi was in Calgary for G7 at Kanakis, he did not go to Washington, D.C. for that photo op with Trump, where Trump wanted to ambush India with Asim Munir for that handshake. He came back to India and said, I have more important things to do. And peace should mean genuine peace. But your take, Ambassador Sinha.
Gaurav, thank you for having me on your show. The 2 points I want to make. The first point you mentioned about Calgary, and you mentioned the telephone call on the 17th of June between President Trump and Prime Minister Modi. Now, the fact of the matter is that Prime Minister Modi was going to Croatia on his way back on an official visit. I think if I recall correctly, it was the first ever visit by a Prime Minister to Croatia. This was a predetermined program. It's not that you can just change your program and rush and do something else, however important or unimportant that might be. That's number one. So I think in international relations, there is form, and that's how international relations are conducted. Number two, as far as the statements emanating from Pakistan, I think in your initial comments, before you started this panel discussion, there was something about dogs barking. And need I say more? Because, these people, I have dealt with them for so long. I know that they make a lot of noise, the sort of statements. In fact, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, I remember once, he got so carried away that he knocked down the mic. It was not in relation to India, it was in relation to something else. But you know that the Prime Minister in Pakistan counts for nothing. It's you all know it's a sham democracy. The most popular leader is in jail. And in any fair election, there would be another prime minister, but that's a different story. As far as the army is concerned, their complete implacable hostility towards India is well known. In fact, the prime minister mentioned the enemy. I'm glad he did, because I hope your viewers realize that there are some in India who still don't view Pakistan as an enemy. They would still rather go and light candles at the border. So I think we need to be very clear whom we are dealing with. As far as India is concerned, I'm sure our armed forces are well equipped to handle the threat that's emanating from Pakistan, or that will emanate from Pakistan in the future.
Sir, completely take your point. And Abhijit, when we say barking dogs seldom bite, it may be true, but with Pakistan, after Asim Munir's rant, the Pahalgam terror attack took place. After his second rant, and especially when he says, we'll start from the east and move west, how would you view, one, these statements? Two, the first statement actually came when he was on US soil. Three, when you look at America, is Donald Trump, is it all about that cryptocurrency deal with Pakistan? Because Pakistan doesn't have much money. It can't be oil. 16 past attempts to drill oil failed. The Americans drilled oil, they didn't succeed. The Canadians did it, the Europeans did it. There was no oil. Had there been oil, China would have harnessed it already. What do you make of Trump's sudden Pakistan love?
Not to mention the fact, Gaurav, that if the Americans go into Balochistan now, how are the Chinese going to react, having expended so much blood and money on so-called developing Balochistan? So it's good for us. I mean, it's stirring the pot for us, and that's very good. If China falls out with Pakistan, that's an excellent thing. But let's just address the core issues here. I've said since the end of Operation Sindoor on the 10th of that month, Asim Munir has been desperate for some kind of a PR victory. He claims he shot down, I don't know how many 100 Rafales or 500 Rafales. I forget what the current number is. But that was the Air Force shooting it down. What did he do to become Field Marshal? So his very promotion to Field Marshal shows you his desperation, number one. Remember, it did not go down. The Pahalgam attack and what happened after that. He can hide whatever losses they had from his public. He can't hide it from the core commanders. And as I understand it from all my sources in Pakistan, the core commanders are very upset with him. Now, his dilemma is he needs another attack on India. Not necessarily in Kashmir, it may come through Nepal, it may come through Bangladesh, something like that, but he needs it. And I've been saying this for a long time. We may be able to parry about 100 attacks, but the 101st attack will always succeed. That has always been the logic of terrorism. The issue then is, what will he do when India retaliates to that attack? Now, when it comes to the water treaty, it's slightly different. Do you remember the Atlantic shooting down case in 1999 where we shot down a Leger Atlantic?
The helicopter I was on board was almost shot down by the Pakistani Stinger, the Mi-17, Mi-8 that time in Nalia. Go on, sir.
Right. Now, what happens with that is, if you remember at international arbitration, the Pakistanis went for international arbitration knowing fully well that India's accession to the ICJ was based on an exclusion of all other Commonwealth countries. They still decided to spend about $50 million on that arbitration, lost it on jurisdictional grounds. Again, they have gone, and remember, the Permanent Court of Arbitration is not the ICJ. The annexes to the Indus Water Treaty very clearly state a neutral expert, and even that now does not hold. It is infructuous because it is now in abeyance. So what they're doing now is, it could be one. I think the statements that Munir has made in America are again grandstanding, but they do point towards an impending attack of some kind, which he needs to save his career. But what Shehbaz Sharif is doing is exactly what Nawaz Sharif did, that when the Atlantic was shot down, we're taking you to international arbitration. They need some kind of public. So it's a mix of...
So they're desperate. It shows their desperation. Alexander Slater, conventional wisdom suggests, as General Raj Shukla was also pointing out, US and India should remain strong partners. It benefits both countries. It benefits both economies. The aim, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi was in the US in February, was to take bilateral trade to $500 billion by 2030. US and India were also talking about coming together to checkmate expansionist forces, China. How do you see Trump's changed attitude towards India?
Gaurav, thanks so much for having me here. It's wonderful to be part of this discussion with the other panelists. I think you're 100% right. I think the U.S. and India, for all the reasons that you cited, are natural partners. And it's difficult to explain the sudden turn in events. Obviously, the inability of the two sides to come together on a trade agreement has been a focal point of the rupture. But, I think we all know now that this has been building for some time. Clearly, the disagreement between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump over how to discuss what happened in May and what led to the conclusion of the cross-border conflict has helped push us to where we are today. I think the key is to look forward, as you're suggesting. How do we get out of this? How do we get back to a better place between the two countries who, again, are natural partners? Both have very strong interests in creating a free, open, prosperous, and peaceful Indo-Pacific. It's why they've worked together so hard over the last, I guess, since really 2008. Everybody understands that an expansionist China is quite dangerous for all of the countries in the Indo-Pacific, and especially India's long-term goals of continuing its rise to be the third largest economy in the world, given that Asia is going to be a major export market for Indian companies.
So India is doing everything that's required to achieve that aim. What explains America's changed, attitude in the way you look at it?
Yeah, I think that, President Trump is a different type of president. He's very different than President Biden in numerous ways. I think that the prior administration really was focused on working to build up India to help its rise and saw its rise as very complementary. This president has a different approach to world affairs and thinks that access to the U.S. market is an asset for other countries, and he is seeking to leverage that to open up opportunities for American exporters and to align other countries with the foreign policy priorities of the United States. I'll say this one thing. Ending the conflict in Ukraine is in India's interests. And so this president has taken a bit of a harder line, of course, with India, with this additional 25% tariffs when it comes to Russian oil.
So why did he chicken out with China?
It's a very great point, but I don't think that that's going to go on forever. I think people are interpreting that as I think they call it the taco trade here in the United States, where he doesn't necessarily follow through on his initial threats, but below the surface, that's only going to go on for so long. There are certain things and steps the United States is taking to reduce reliance on China, and to that's not going to go on forever. And so I do think that you will see increasing pressure on U.S.-China ties as well. But look, the point is more this. We have to separate the actual underlying economic drivers and the political drivers, right? Nobody likes to be seen to be pushed around on the world stage. Nobody. It's why these conversations often happen behind the scenes, right? When the US and India were at odds over India's imports of oil from Venezuela or Iran, they worked behind the scenes to resolve the situation, and India reduced its purchases and ultimately stopped buying oil from either of those countries. The same thing can be done here. It just has to be done in a very different way than it's being done now.
Okay, so he's fired the bullet. Now he wants the bullet to be taken back. Clearly, that doesn't happen. And especially when you're dealing, General Shukla, as you said, with a 5,000-year-old civilization, we wouldn't want anyone to lecture us. We've withstood sanctions before. Not that we would want sanctions, but this is something, when it comes to India's pride, I'm sure that there is no way that India would want to be lectured, especially when America is following double standards, and not just with China, with Europe, with America itself, General Shukla. They continue to buy uranium for their nuclear energy. They continue to get fertilizers and chemicals for themselves, but they want to lecture us. It just doesn't add up.
It's not only there's China, Turkey, the shadow fleet, Europe. We know what's happening. But the other issue is, I would just like to recall, I think it was the Prime Minister in the 2014 campaign trail, when he was asked about India's foreign policy, he says, na aankh utha ke baat karenge, na aankh jhuka ke. We will neither bully nor get bullied. This much, reached the ears of the Trump administration loud and clear. We are not going to get bullied. Having said that, these are challenging times for Indian statecraft. While staying engaged with USA, if things go further astray, what are our options? There are options. Russia, the global south, the near hegemon. If the faraway hegemon is acting nasty, there are things we can do. We are not without options. There are many options with us. We won't like to go down that path, but if pushed, there are huge options for us. One point I would say that we must look at our strategic military capacities. We are not resourcing them in the manner that we should for the, the challenges that are coming our way. Last point, I would just like to, examine this nuclear doctrine that Asim Munir unfolded from Florida. So what was he really saying? He was saying, Dekho, India is committed to NFU, so India will never use nuclear weapons, at least not in the first instance. So we will do this terror strike. India will respond conventionally. We will lose. And when we are getting decimated, we'll blow ourselves up. I mean, what kind of madrasa nuclear ideology is this? He's got his strategic plans divisions, very smart Pakistani officers. They would be disappointed with this. I'm surprised that the West and the USA has not condemned this kind of nonsense. Nuclear deterrence is a very serious matter. Nobody knows it better than the Americans. And look at the kind of, absolutely outstandingly stupid statements that are coming out. not only irresponsible, downright stupid. I mean, this amazes me to the extreme.
Ambassador Sinha, America claims to be big on nuclear non-proliferation, though its record has been very bad. It's looked the other way when Pakistan was the nuclear Walmart and America knew it. Pakistan was, as you know better, sir, you were dealing with Pakistan directly. Their C-130, imagine an American-made aircraft, C-130 was flying to Iran and America was looking the other way. Deals were being done with Libya, America was looking the other way. But how do you, one, look at this nuclear threat, the threats that come from Pakistan, and how India should actually deal with both these emerging situations?
Gaurav, I liked your description of the Walmart. In fact, I recall I was posted in Pakistan when AQ Khan network was active, very active, and we were aware of what he was up to. And of course, our friends, our partners in the West, either didn't believe us or chose to ignore it. I think the second is probably true. The latter is true. I think what has happened is saber rattling. Nuclear saber rattling is not new. Pakistan has done it. Successive army chiefs have done it. So it's nothing new. The only problem is that this particular chief, given his background, we shouldn't dismiss it out of hand. But I like what General Shukla had said about, trying to blow themselves up and take half the world down with them. That was the most astounding statement that I've heard.
And just 1 minute, Ambassador sir, which half? The American half or the Chinese half?
Probably both, I think, the way a nuclear war pans out. But one point I'd like to make, the India-US relationship is extremely important. We must understand that. And we should not get carried away by sentiment. We should not throw the baby out with the bathwater. This is a 17-year moment. I read somewhere, 1971, when the 7th Fleet was sailing towards the Bay of Bengal. And you know what happened. 1998, after our nuclear test, and now it's 2025. We rode the storm. There are ups and downs in relationships. And I like the point that Mr. Slater made, that there are other issues. It's a very wide relationship. There are many other issues. Now we have to see what will happen now. Trade, the 25th of August, if a delegation comes from the US, what will be the outcome? If the Prime Minister goes to attend the UNGA in September, will there be a meeting with President Trump? All these are imponderables which we will have to wait and see. But one point I wanted to make about the Indus Water Treaty, I think Mr. Mitra had referred to it. There's the dispute resolution mechanism. There are three aspects. One is the Permanent Indus Commission. The other is the independent monitor. And the neutral expert. And the third is the Court of Arbitration. And as you mentioned in your opening remarks, in 2012, 2013, I was the co-agent for India at the arbitration at the PCA, the Permanent Court of Arbitration on Kishanganga. The interim judgment that came after that, we won handedly. Now, the situation has changed because we have kept, the World Bank did something completely absurd. They kicked in two dispute resolution mechanisms simultaneously, nuclear expert and a court of arbitration. And now that we've held the treaty in abeyance, and another thing, reacting to Shahbaz Sharif, we have not stopped any water. The water is flowing as it is. What we do in the future is a different matter. But till now, we haven't stopped waters. We haven't built any dams on the Indus or Jhelum. So what we will do, definitely, and I hope we do, the Tulbul navigation project on the Jhelum must be started immediately. And that's a navigation project, with or without Pakistani objections. So we will follow the elements of the treaty as much as it suits us. And I don't think now they're going to be held back by either protestations from Pakistan, the objections that they raise all the time, or any sanctimonious lecturing by any permanent court of arbitration.
Sanctimonious lecturing, and why should we? And I completely agree with all of you that India-US relationship is extremely important, and that's why both countries in the past 25 years, post 1999 Kargil war, have invested so much in this relationship. But Alexander Slater, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the United States in February, India was seen as quick off the block, wanted a quick trade deal, a bilateral trade deal by fall, and everything was being put in place. What I want to understand from you is, one, why did things change? Two, when you look at three aspects here in that compact that was signed, that declaration that came, one was technology, the other was strategic partnership, the third was trade. When it comes to technology, there is science and technology cooperation that's happening. There will be a joint military exercise and India is sending a big contingent to Alaska. Will trade, in your appreciation, come back on an even keel? Is it just being used, this additional 25% sanctions, to browbeat India into accepting, some American points? Or is Trump very clear it's his way or highway?
I think it's probably both on that last point. I think that President Trump is serious about getting Russia to the negotiating table and is looking for ways to motivate other powers, including India, who talks about a special relationship with Russia, to push Vladimir Putin to that negotiating table. And again, I think it is in India's interest for Russia's invasion of Ukraine to end, and for there to be peace there, for a variety of reasons, which, it's why Prime Minister Modi in 2022 said now is not an era of war to Putin directly, right after the invasion. So again, I think there's alignment there. I think he's trying to motivate India to do more there. And I think President Trump genuinely believes that India's purchase of Russian oil enables Russia to continue on a more aggressive tack towards Ukraine and not come to the table. So I think there's genuine...
May I just intervene for 30 seconds? Indian purchases from Russia, you say, encourages that war machine. What about American purchases from Russia? Does that deter Russia? What about Europe's purchases from Russia? Does that deter Russia? I don't understand this logic, sir.
So Gaurav, on this particular point, what I said was I think President Trump believes this. I'm not asserting what is or isn't. I think if you look at the data, the amount of oil that India purchases from Russia substantially exceeds
much less than what Europe purchases from Russia in terms of LNG. Much less in terms of value, in terms of quantities. So I don't understand this logic. I mean, why? I seriously want to know this. Every Indian wants to know this. We want good ties with America, but not these double standards from America.
So look, I think on these issues, this is President Trump's policy, and I don't work for the administration. I'm here to explain what I think he believes and why he thinks this is important. And again, I think when it comes to what India can do and where its interests lie. I don't think that the delta between what India buys in terms of oil from Russia and what it would get on the market price is hugely significant. But let's put that aside. I mean, I honestly don't think that's the major point here. I think what you're asking about really is how do these countries come back to the trade table together? And on that point, on this extra 25%, I think on one hand, President Trump genuinely believes the things that he's said about why he's concerned about India's oil purchases from Russia, and he thinks that he can motivate India to put more pressure on Russia. But I think he also is using it as a way to get leverage at the bargaining table on trade.
Okay.
I think that India is responding in a level-headed way, is showing its continued interest in trying to reach an agreement on trade. I think that the sides were extremely close, and I think they have a nice framework in place to reach an agreement. The ultimate outcome is going to depend on both sides deciding that, look, nobody's going to get everything that they want. And is the long-term health of the relationship more important than being able to come out and say publicly, I won or I dominated? That seems to me far less important. But I will take one more point that you made. It's a very good sign that the two countries remain very well connected on the military-to-military level, that cooperation continues, that also India continues to work with other allies of the United States, including the Philippines, on strategic cooperation and military ties. This is what's fundamentally important and creates a broader frame for the two countries to come together on trade as well. So I'm hopeful for that.
Okay, Abhijit, with the last 30 seconds I have on this part of the show, is that trust factor, 25 years invested in it, that comfort level, has that been lost? And a lot then would depend, one, not just on the talks that happen in Alaska between President Trump and President Putin, but also whether the trade delegation comes from the United States around the 25th of August for the next round or sixth round of talks.
Look, we've always been very iffy in our trust factor with the Americans. Even with the last government, remember, they were undermining us through other resources. That was much more insidious. They were using NGOs and, that entire network under USA to undermine us. This is a much, much more direct to-fro. The problem is this particular thing, even though it's not that defense sales are embargoed or anything like that, the problem here is that when you decide that a bilateral relationship depends on a third country, then you fundamentally start attacking the basis of that relationship. So on one hand, it is not as insidious as what Biden tried to do or Obama tried to do, but it does strike at the root. So yes, there is some kind of great unease and a loss of trust. I think it set the relationship back. Can it get back on track? Is it unrecoverable? Absolutely not. One last point, Gaurav. The sheer duplicity of the so-called 50% tariff is the fact that if India imports Russian oil and processes it, check Annex 2 of the executive